Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Stress-Free Forms, as part of the Parent and Family Summer Webinar Series. My name is Mikkel St. Germain. I am the Director of Parent and Family Engagement here at Brown University, and I am very happy to be joining all of you live today. It is a beautiful and very warm day on the Brown University campus in Providence. We should all be at the beach, but we are here instead with some great information for all of you to use and to take with you to discuss with your student and get prepared for the fall. Currently, we have almost 200 people on the webinar and the number is climbing. We want to welcome all of you new families and students from the class of 2027. We're so glad that you could join us today, and we are excited to welcome you to the Brown campus later this summer. A few bits of business before we get started. This webinar is being recorded, as are all of the webinars in this series. They will be edited and posted on our parent and family website, where you saw the registration for these webinars. So just give us a few days and we'll have them up there for your reference. The closed captions are available today by pressing the closed caption button at the bottom of your screen, and that will get you access to that. And we thank our captioner who's here with us today. And then there's still time to register for the remaining webinars in this series. Friday, we'll be joined by senior administrators from Residential Life, who will be talking about living at Brown and everything to make sure your student is comfortable and acclimates to campus when they get here. So we do hope you will sign up for that and all of the other webinars for parents and families we are presenting this month. As I mentioned, move-in is coming up for new students. That's August 30th. And along with that, we do have a parent and family welcome on the evening of the 30th after move-in. And then all day on August 31st, we will be sending out more information about that soon, along with registration that will open on Tuesday, August 1st. It is not mandatory in any way. Many of the sessions are videotaped and recorded and live streamed for your participation if you can't make it to campus. So please don't feel like it is a requirement. And if you can't make it at that point in time, there's always Family Weekend, which happens every year. And this year it will be October 13th through the 15th. And that's for all students, not just new student families and parents. And again, if you can't make it, we'll have some ways for you to engage virtually as well. Finally, if you have questions after this webinar, I encourage you to reach out to family@brown.edu. That comes to my department. We can't answer all the questions here, but we can get you to the right place if we can't answer the questions. So please take a minute to email us if you do have anything. And just for your information, we do try to stay away from individual specifics about students in these webinars. So if you do have something that's really detailed about your student or specific to your situation, please email one of my colleagues who are with me today or to me directly at family@brown.edu. All right, so that was a lot to get started, and I am very happy to present my wonderful colleagues from Brown, who have all the details and are the experts in these areas of financial aid, financial services, and insurance. First up will be Kirsten Connors, who is the Director of Student Financial Services in University Bursar. Then we'll have Matthew Davis, who is Assistant Director of Financial Aid. And finally, Erica Larange, Assistant Director of Student Health Insurance Operations. So let's get started. And Kirsten, can you begin the presentation for us?
Sure thing. Thank you, Mikkel. Hi, everyone. As Mikkel mentioned, I'm Kirsten Connors, Director of Student Financial Services, and I just wanted to take a moment to welcome you all to the Brown community. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our team in Student Financial Services is responsible for student account billing and payments, loan processing and disbursement to student accounts, and the installment payment plan. Next slide. Here at Brown, students are the central point of communication and most departments will communicate frequently with students via email. Please encourage your students to monitor their Brown email, as they will receive a lot of important information that way. You can also encourage your students to share with you the first year student email that they received from our team on June 15th. And most importantly, you can encourage your students to grant family members access to their student account information. Next slide. It is through payment.brown.edu where students can go to grant that authorized user access to family members. And that's also where students can set up e-refund, which is electronic refund capability. Through payment.brown.edu, both students and authorized users can view all of the student account charges and credits, and they can make payments online. They can also choose to enroll in the installment payment plan if preferred. Students and authorized users will also receive important emails from our team, and they will have the ability to discuss student account related questions with our team. It's important for family members to know that without authorized user access, our team cannot provide detailed student account information with anyone other than the student. Next slide, please. So here's a little bit of information about billing and our deadlines. All student account billing is done electronically through payment.brown.edu. No paper bills are generated at all, so everything is done online. Fall billing statements were generated on June 22nd, and any charges or credits that were posted after June 22nd can be found in the account activities section of payment.brown.edu. The student account and e-bill schedule, which is on our website, lists all of the billing and payment deadlines for each semester. For fall 2023, payments are due on August 1st. The IPP enrollment deadline, or installment payment plan enrollment deadline, is August 2nd. Any anticipated memo credits will expire on October 15th. And I'll take a quick moment to explain what that means a little bit further. So if Brown is aware that your student is expecting to receive loans, outside scholarships, or 529 payments, then a temporary memo credit is placed on the student's account. If those funds are not received at Brown by October 15th, then that temporary memo credit is removed and the full remaining balance is due. We do send out reminder emails, again, to students and authorized users as this date approaches. Next slide, please. Here are some resources that can help you. Our homepage includes a quick links section to help you easily navigate our website. And it also includes a link to our e-bill and payment guide, which will help you navigate that payment.brown.edu system. If you ever have any questions about your student account, completing loan requirements, anything like that, please feel free to connect with our team. Our contact information is listed here, sfs@brown.edu, and our phone number is listed. Through our website, you'll also see a link to be able to schedule appointments with our team and connect that way as well. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. We look forward to getting to know you. And from here, I will turn it over to Matt Davis, who is representing financial aid.
Hi, everyone. And on behalf of our interim dean, Sean J. Ferns, Frederick M. Alpert, Deanship of Financial Aid, my colleagues in the Office of Financial Aid, and myself, welcome. Really happy to be here. So for those of you that might have attended my presentation with admission throughout the year this year, you know that I always say we have a lot to unpack in a limited amount of time. So let's get started. So we can go to the first slide, please. So I just want to really quickly recap on some of the initiatives that Brown has put into place over the last few years. One of the biggest initiatives we had was eliminating home equity from a family's primary residence. Also, this tuition-only scholarship, so for families that have income below or equal to 125,000 and have typical assets for that income level may be eligible for funding that covers the full cost of tuition. As such, for those that qualify, this means that the amount of university scholarship, federal and state grants, and outside resources will be at a level that ensures that the total cost of those tuition costs are covered completely. This does not include fees, housing, or meals. If more information about that, you can call our office. We also have for our highest need students, we have our reduced student earning expectation. That basically means that our highest need students, they qualify for a zero parent contribution, meaning that tuition fees or direct costs, meals and rooms are covered. And also that also means that part of the work component has been reduced, and they also receive an extra amount throughout the year to help with other expenses as well. Next slide, please. So finalizing financial aid for the 23-24 financial aid year. So for the most part, at this point, many of you who have qualified for financial aid should have already received your financial aid offer from our office. If you did not receive your financial aid offer from our office, then there might have been a problem. And one of the biggest problems that we find is that you might still have outstanding requirements on the account. So sometimes that might mean that we're still waiting on tax information. We might be waiting on maybe the FAFSA to get completed, or there might be an issue with the FAFSA that needs to be completed through the Department of Education. So please, if you have not received the financial aid offer at this point and you feel that you should, then please contact our office as well and let us know, and we can take a look and see what's happening. You can also check your outstanding requirements at the bottom here at selfservice.brown.edu. And I also want to say too, I saw a question come in asking if the financial aid offer was viewed somewhere else other than the payment.brown.edu for the bursar's office. And yes, it is viewed somewhere else, and it's at your selfservice.brown.edu account for your financial aid offers. Also, now some other things to think about as well is, do you have outside scholarship funds you are expecting? If so, have you notified our office? So by federal law and university policy, any outside money that you receive other than Brown University scholarship, that should be notified. Our office should be notified of that. So if you have not notified us of that, or if you're not sure if you receive anything, please contact our office as well and let us know about it. Also, have you completed all loan requirements for 23-24 borrowing? So if you're interested in now, although Brown, in our Brown Promise, which is another initiative we have where we eliminated loans in financial aid packages, meaning that financial aid packages used to be have loans that were mandatory that students had to take out, and we eliminated that. However, that does not mean that you cannot borrow loans. You still have accessibility to your student loans. So if you're looking to borrow student loans, please, you can either notify our office that you want to borrow your loans, or you can go into your banner your selfservice.brown.edu portal, and you can request them from there as well. So some of the requirements you might have to do for your loan are, you may have to, again, the FAFSA might have to get completed if you haven't done that, okay? Also, some of the other requirements you might have to do to get your loans, once our office offers you loans, you may then have to do what they call a master promissory note through the loan office. And also, you may have to also do what they call an entrance counseling through them as well. So again, if you've requested loans and you have not noticed those loans on your offer yet, there could be something going on there. Please call our office or contact us and let us know. Next slide, please. So for our families, as you all know, for most of you, you went through this process this year. The process started early for families that were early decision. We started December, the process. For families that were our regular decision families, the process, you had everything into us by February for us to get information out to you by the end of March. However, when you become a current student or an upperclassman, things change a little bit. What we want changes a little bit. So first of all, for our domestic students, the CSS profile that you did the first year, you do not have to do that again. So the CSS profile is done one and done. Good news, right? I know, because that's a pain. But it's done now, you don't have to worry about it. So what do you have to do? So what you'll have to do every year is you do have to redo the FAFSA yeach year. So for our domestic students, again, it does not count to our international students. We'll talk about them in a moment, that you must do the FAFSA yearly. Now, the FAFSA, as many of you may have heard, is that they're going to, the Department of Ed has started this simplification process. So under normal circumstances, the FAFSA is open on October 1st. And what happens is, under normal circumstances, that you would go in on October 1st and you can actually you can complete the FAFSA and it's all done. Well, now because of the simplification process, we are being told that the FAFSA may not be available till after January 1st of 2024. So again, while I'm telling you that October 1st is usually the day that the FAFSA opens, this year that may change. Now, some of you may be asking, what is this simplification process you're talking about? I'm going to be upfront with you right now. We are still learning ourselves. So once the Department of Ed gets that information out to us, we will have more information for our families about this process. Also, just so you know as well, the FAFSA, the information that we're going to be looking at is tax information. So for instance, as those of you may know that when we looked at tax information for this year, 23-24, we looked at 2021. So this year we may be, so next year for 24-25, we would be looking at tax information 2022. And then obviously you can do the math every year. We'll be looking at next 23 and then 24, most likely in the senior year. Our office will usually notify our students, when you go on to winter break. So we say that financially notify students about October. Usually when our families go out on their winter break, they go home. We'll actually send out an email. So I apologize. I didn't let Mikhail update that, but usually in January or so, families are starting to get emails from our office letting you know that what information do we need so we can now do your financial aid now going forward. And like I said, so usually that email goes out to our students, as Kirsten had mentioned. Primarily, all information goes out to the student. Our office does not have what they call an authorized user. We will talk to families, a little bit different for us. However, all information by federal rules has to go to the student or any information there. Also, at any time, you can check your Banner self-service portal or that portal I mentioned earlier for any requirements that you're missing. So again, what will happen is we'll notify you of information that we need from you. That could be, again, it'll be the FAFSA, it'll be tax documents, and possibly other documents as well that we'll ask for each year. And then we'll also have those requirements in your Banner self-service portal that you can double check. The renewal application process deadline. So as I mentioned, normally what we like is to have all our current student information in by February. By February 1st, we like to have the information in. If it's late, that's okay. We're not going to penalize you for that. We understand things happen. But under normal circumstances, we like to have our current stuff in by February 1st. So in other words, when it comes time to renew financial aid for the 24-25 year, we're going to be going out to you in January, asking you this is what we want, and then have everything into us by February 1st. And then our office will start to put together the financial aid offers. However, big difference from this year where you were notified of your financial aid offers much earlier in the year. Our current students are not notified of their financial aid offers until mid to late June. So again, it will take a little bit longer before you get your financial aid offers. And then, and as I mentioned, their renewal application due in early February. And again, as I mentioned, I want to say it again, do not worry if you're late, that's okay. Okay, it's more of a timing issue than anything else. Then we won't penalize you or anything like that, and you won't lose financial aid for that. Next slide, please. So now one of the biggest things that our office deals with here, obviously, is our financial aid appeal process. And I did see some questions about that were coming through about our financial aid appeal process. So the bottom line so I always say to families in all my presentations that our office does our best to give you the best offer up front to begin with. Okay, so there are a lot of things we have to look at, and financial aid is very complicated, but when our offer goes out to you, that's the best offer to get. However, there are times that we understand that things happen, and we understand that families have to deal with certain unexpected events that happen. And as many of you are well aware, in 2020 with COVID, we had a lot going on in 2020 and 2021, and for some families, that's still happening. So again, if there is something that you did not notify us about, if there was, for instance, the 4 major things we look at is significant loss of income, death of a parent or an immediate family member, high medical, private, educational, or family expenses, and then other things as well, something like one-time income that you might have had. Maybe in some families had to do, you might have had to borrow from a retirement plan to help pay some bills because of the COVID, of the crisis and things like that. So you might have had to borrow money in one particular year that makes your income seem to inflate. However, that didn't repeat in another year. So there might be things we're going to ask you for. But the big thing is, again, these are the 4 major things that we look at. One of the major things with this, again, when it comes to a significant loss of income, some of the things we have to look at is when did that happen? How much was the loss? Also, was there a severance package involved in that? Were the things maybe that was their income, maybe that was still in that year that we need to consider as well. Also, the one thing I do always want to say is that one big thing is that a consideration of when you send an appeal, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be able to do something. Again, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of times we pretty much have already done the best we can do up front. So we might not be able to do anything with that. But again, we don't discourage you sending in an appeal. Some of the other things that we do not consider in appeals, we do not consider siblings that graduate or in graduate, medical, or law school. So one of the biggest things here is that if you are a family that has another child in school right now, most likely, depending on what you're paying for them, we gave you an allowance for that child being in school. That is not something that we have to do. That is not something that federally we are told to do. That is something that Brown does, knowing and understanding that is for families. It is a financial burden to have to pay for more children at one time in an undergraduate program. So most likely, if you have another child in school, we probably gave you an allowance, and your financial aid offer that we sent you would have that information in there. However, please understand that once that child graduates, once that child that is no longer an undergraduate degree granting student, then that allowance goes away. So please keep that in mind. If you have questions about that, again, you can contact our office if you have more questions about that. If you have a child that's going to start school, please let us know that. So for instance, if your child is in a sophomore year or junior year or senior year, and one of those years you have another child now that's going to be crossing with them as well in an undergraduate program, you need to let us know that as well, because what will happen is if you don't, we're just going to assume that child didn't start school, and therefore we are going to we might not give an allowance up front. So please, if you have another child that's going to start school, please contact our office and let us know that, in whatever year that might be. One thing I forgot to mention, I apologize, I said earlier about our international students that are on here, is that with our international students for the application process, again, is that you have to international students do have to do the CSS profile yearly. So, and then also we do tax, if applicable, we do ask for taxes, and also wage statements from you as well. So I apologize, I didn't mention that earlier. So unlike our domestic students that just have to do the FAFSA and their tax information, our international students obviously do not do the FAFSA, and they do the CSS profile each year, and we also get information from them also. Apologize for not mentioning that earlier. Also, we do not consider high consumer debt. We do not consider personal expenses, and we do not consider expenses that have not yet occurred. One of the big things there would be high medical costs. Many families say, hey, we have high medical costs that we had. However, we're being billed for that, but we haven't paid that yet. We're expected to pay that. If you haven't paid it, we cannot consider it. It's got to be costs that you've already paid out of your pocket as well. There are also some of the things that we do not look at as well in the with that, I apologize, I wrote them down here. Some of the things that we do not look at as well would be fluctuation in business income. So a lot of times businesses, they fluctuate every year. So again, we wouldn't consider, we might look at it in another year, we're in the next year, but business income or fluctuation of business income is something we're not going to look at. Also, we will not look at fluctuation in conversion rates, or for our international students. So if you have conversion rates are changing, again, we use a set date for conversion rates, and we use that in our analysis, and we will not consider a financial aid appeal based off of changes in conversion rates. Now, maybe again, if it happens in the next year when we're renewing financial aid, that might be a different story. And also, we do not look at, we will not consider anyone that voluntarily retires from early retirement. That's on a case-by-case basis. And also, we're not going to consider anyone that voluntarily quit their job or something like that. Okay, so these are some of the things that we don't look at, or we do not consider when it comes to financial aid. Next slide, please. Our contact information here, while contacting us via email or phone is wonderful, please understand that our office gets overwhelmed very quickly with phone calls and emails. So the best way for you to contact our office is to go into our main website under our contact page and go to our counselor calendar and make an appointment there. That's one of the best ways to do it. So we have many slots open. We are more than glad to take phone calls. from our families. We pride ourselves in the fact that we do that we talk to all our families and return phone calls or anything like that as well. So please, while phone calls and emails are great, the best way to contact us is to speak with one of our counselors going into our counselor calendar page. Our office, again, is located on the second floor of the Page Robinson Hall on 69 Brown Street. Our offices are open from 8:30 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesdays where we open at 11 to 4 p.m. And again, our doors are open, and you're more than glad to come up and visit us as well, if you like to talk about things as well. So again, I know we went through a lot real fast. As Mikhail said, this is recorded, so again, you might be able to go back and listen to it later. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And with that, I'm going to pass this on now to Erica. Please, I'm going to pass it on to you, Erica. Go right ahead.
So I'm Erica Larange, and so we'll be talking about the Scholar Student Health Insurance. And I just wanted to start by welcoming you all and congratulating you all on your students' acceptance. It's a very big achievement and you should all be proud of yourselves as well as the student. Next slide, please. So the Student Health Insurance Plan, it's sponsored by Brown and to our domestic and our international students, and it's coverage by United Healthcare Student Resources. The coverage is in effect until August 15th of 2023 to August 14th of 2024. And all students are eligible to be covered under the student insurance plan and will be automatically enrolled. In order to waive the insurance, you would need to take action. And in order to take action, you need to go onto our enrollment waiver portal that opened on June 15th. And just as my colleagues have stated, we do our communications through the student, and all students have started to receive emails with detailed instructions on June 15th. And depending on if action has been taken or not, those emails are repeated on a weekly basis. And as we get closer to September 1st, when the portal will close, the frequency will increase for the student to receive the emails. Next slide, please. So it is a comprehensive plan. It has all of your preventative care, primary care office visits, urgent care, emergency care, your labs and your imaging, maternity or nursing care, emergency evacuation, recreation for out of country, your required immunizations and mental health services, and prescription drugs and ambulance. And the annual premium is $4,636. And you will see that charge on your Bursar account until you waive. Next slide, please. So this is the summary of benefits. So there is an in-network deductible of $300, and then there's no coinsurance and an out-of-pocket in-network of $8,100. So office visits are 100% of they're normally a $15 copay or 100% of the allowed amount. Physician's visit is a $30 copay and 100% of the allowed amount, not subject to deductible, meaning that the $30 copay does not apply towards the accrual of the deductible. So then day surgery will have a $100 copay, room and board expense, $100 copay for the inpatient visit. And the medical emergency, the ER room, has a $100 copay. Urgent care has a $25 copay. And then prescription drugs, depending on the tier, are $20, $40, or $60 copay. So in-network is where your student is going to save the most money. So if they come to the Health and Wellness Center and they need laboratories at our Lifespan lab within the Health and Wellness, or they need radiology done by within Health and Wellness, which is run by Rhode Island Imaging, then those would be covered 100%. It wouldn't apply towards the deductible. So usually when they go outside the community, that's when your deductible comes into play. Next slide. And then we also offer voluntary dental and vision. You do have the option, you, excuse me, you will not receive any, the student does not receive any emails in regards to this. It's just there for them when they go to enroll or waive, it's on the portal. So our Delta Dental PPO has a tier 1 coverage plan, pays 100%, 0% co-insurance. Our tier 2 plan pays 80% with the co-insurance of 20%. And then the tier 3 coverage plan pays 50% and co-insurance of 50%, and there's a $100 deductible. So that individual monthly rate is $32.60, which would be due at time of enrollment for the year. So our Delta Vision plan, it's a comprehensive eye exam that they receive with a copay of $10 and $130 allowance for frames every 24 months or 1 pair of lenses every 12 months. And they also include the Essential Medical Eye Care Program. So the monthly rate is $5. And once again, all the premium would need to be paid at time of enrollment. Next slide. So how do you enroll? So the email that the students receive, there's a link in there from our insurance broker and their name is Haler, Fryer, and Kuhn, but they are only, their website is called haler.com. So for enrollment, you'll need all your demographic information, first and last name, date of birth, gender, mailing address, email address. And then once you select to enroll, you'll receive an email within 7 to 10 days before the plan takes effect from United Healthcare Student Resources, and it will be a welcome, and you'll have access to your account and your ID card. Next slide. So when you click on that link and the student puts their name and their banner ID in, they'll come to this page. And as you can see, there are different blocks. So first year students, you're going to want to click on the annual plan. And there are little descriptions under each type of plan. So to remind you of which portal you should be going into in order to enroll or to waive. And then underneath there, you'll see there are links to the summary of benefits and a lot more detailed information that is in addition to what's on our health and wellness page. So you'll get the very specific information that you want, your summary of benefits and your certificate. Next page. So if you do have your own private plan and you'd like to waive, then in order to get an approved waiver and to have the 4636 credited to your account, you have to have comparable coverage. So what we consider comparable coverage is a plan that covers you for non-emergent and urgent and routine care without coverage limitations while you're on or near your school's campus, and it includes the following stipulations. Your plan is fully compliant with all aspects of the Affordable Care Act and is underwritten and administered in the United States and does not have any limitations or exclusions on pre-existing conditions, and your plan does not place dollar maximums on medical benefits. And I just want to just revisit is underwritten and administered in the United States. If you have an international plan and it works in the United States and you get coverage in the United States, that is not equivalent to the plan being underwritten or administered in the United States. So I'd like you to just keep that in mind. If your plan covers preventative services, prescriptions written by a doctor, hospital stays for medical and surgical care for mental conditions, doctor office visits for medical and mental health conditions, diagnostic services, including laboratory, test, and x-rays. If one of these criteria is not met, then you will not receive an approved waiver, but you will have a denied waiver. Next page. All right, so these are the important dates to remember. The waiver enrollment portal opened on June 15th, and the portal will close on September 1st, and students must take action every year. If the student doesn't take action, then they're automatically enrolled in the student health plan. And a lot of times this can cause a lot of confusion and havoc, because if they have their personal plan, the student health insurance plan, because the student is technically the subscriber, that is the primary insurance. And your private plan becomes the secondary insurance. And a lot of times the student will not present both ID cards, and then there are a lot of bills and confusion, and it takes a lot normally to get it all cleared up. So I just want you to keep that in mind, to have those conversations with your students if they are on the student health insurance plan, that they have to present that card. And if they have private insurance as well, they have to make sure they tell the provider that's the secondary insurance. And you'll see the following message at the bottom of each page when you're going through the waiver and enrollment process. There you can email Haler, or you can call them. They're available 24/7. So if you have any type of issues while you're going through the process. And I just wanted to inform you, next page, sorry. Oh, I guess I also wanted to say that for the waiver and enrollment process, if you are interested, we're willing to have like a live demonstration, Mikhail and I, and that would be on a different date. But if you express interest in that, I have no problem going through a live demonstration on exactly how to enroll your student and how to waive the student. We would go through all of the pages. So once again, I thank you for your time. And if you have any further questions, you can reach out to Mikhail, or you can reach out to us at Student Health Insurance Plan at brown.edu. Thank you. Do you
All right. Thank you so much, Erica and Matt and Kirsten. We have a lot of great questions that have come in, and I'm going to try and get to as many of those as possible. But we also have many that were submitted with the registration, and we'll try and go through those as well. I did want to just make a note, especially for international families that might be joining us. We do have a webinar specifically for international students next Wednesday. So we'll be getting into more depth about international questions at that point in time, but we'll try and cover a few here today as well. And then another question that came through, people who may have missed the beginning of this webinar, or just the sheer amount of information that's being provided, it is going to be recorded and posted later as soon as we can get it edited and put up on the website, so you can refer back to it. All right, so Eric, I gave you a break for a second, but you're going to be first up for questions.
Okay.
One of the ones that's come through the chat and we had in advance was about what happens if you do accept the Brown healthcare and then you're off campus, and does it apply outside of Providence and the Brown area?
Yes, it is a nationwide plan, and you do have out-of-country benefits. So you would just want to, when you're nationwide, you would just want to go onto your provider tool and make sure that the provider is in network, so you have your lowest cost possible. When you're utilizing the out-of-country benefits, you're subject to the $300 deductible, and any medical expense after the $300 deductible is met is covered 100% of the allowed amount. Typically, the other countries, they'll have you pay up front, and then the student has to submit a claim in order to get reimbursed. But everywhere in the world, the insurance, you have coverage.
Great. And another international question that came through was, is there a special process or different forms for international students?
No, it's all the same process for everyone.
Great. And what happens if a student waives their health insurance because they have other coverage? Are they still able to access some of the services at Brown?
Yes, they can access the health and wellness services. We have providers there. We have medical doctors, APRNs for your primary care, gynecological care, any type of minor injuries. You can always come to the Health and Wellness Center. We have the psychological services there as well. And then if you do need to be referred out, then we work with either the student health insurance to find you someone in network, or if you have your private insurance, we try to make sure that whoever we're sending you to is in network. So if they're getting receiving services at the Health and Wellness Center, that's covered by their health and wellness fee. There's no service for the office visit or the visit with the provider. If they do need to use the laboratory, pharmacy, or radiology, that is when the private insurance will be charged.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to note too that our health services building is brand new and state of the art and really conveniently located in the center of campus. Besides that, what are the other advantages of taking on the Brown University healthcare plan? Is there, is there something that would help sway that decision for the parents?
Yeah, well, in the insurance industry, the plan that the students have is considered a Cadillac plan, meaning that you really can't get any better plan. So if you were trying to consider whether you want to take the student plan or stay with your personal plan, if your personal plan has a deductible of $8,000 and you know that your student needs medical services throughout the year for a medical condition that just can't be avoided, then it would be wise for you to choose the student insurance plan, because your out-of-pocket costs will decrease significantly. You'll have the annual premium of $46.36, but then the most you should really pay out of pocket is the $300 deductible and your co-pays. And then the out-of-pocket max is $8,100. So once you reach that, then everything is covered 100%. I know there are a lot of high deductible plans out there. That would be one reason. And then another reason is if you have kind of an obscure plan, not one of the mainstream insurance companies, and it's hard for you to find a provider, like you may have one or two choices of a podiatrist or dermatologist or chiropractor on your plan, you may want to consider doing the student insurance so that your child will have better access to care while they're here at Brown. That would be another good reason.
Thank you, Erica. We still have a lot of insurance questions, but I'm going to move on in the sake of time. I did want to mention, like Erica said, if you are interested in a mini session to walk through the insurance portal, we are going to do that next Tuesday morning. We've set aside some time. So I'll send out some information on that to your emails, but you can also note in the survey that we are going to put at the end of this session, whether that's something of interest to you. So let's move on to financial services, and Kirsten, some of the questions we received. Can you talk about a lot of the parents in their registration questions mentioned that there's a lot of information coming at them, and if you have any suggestions on how to stay ahead of deadlines and keep track of all the different action items that they need to take action on.
Absolutely. So as mentioned, students are the central point of communication. And so really the maybe most important takeaway for this group for today from my team is to encourage your student to set you up as an authorized user in payment.brown. That's something that the student needs to complete. Parents can't do that themselves, unfortunately. And by doing that, by taking that step, parents will then have information available to them. You'll be able to see what the students see is when they log in with their student account. You'll also be included in communications that come out from our team. So you'll have a lot more information coming to you to help you navigate the actions that we're asking your student to complete. We don't necessarily have forms that we're asking students to do. It's more that we're asking them to take specific actions through the various websites that Brown uses, like Payment.Brown, Banner Self-Service, places like that. There is that first year student page on our website, which contains a lot of the same information that was included in the email that went out to students, Brown email address. And that gives you a nice It's not necessarily a checklist, but it gives you a nice summary of everything that our team is looking for from your student. So I hope that helps.
Great, thank you. And then a follow-up, if there's something that's missing, will you be contacting both the parent and the student, or is it just a student who's made aware that something's missing?
Yep, great question. So if it depends on the piece of information that is missing. So what we will do is we will send out notifications to students, encouraging them to sign up for electronic refund, for example. We do that periodically throughout the semester, and we send it out to any active students who don't have that completed. If it's something like the student has requested loans and they haven't accepted that loan, or they haven't completed their master promissory note or their entrance counseling, we'll be sending email notifications directly to the student because they are the borrower. Any parents who request a Parent Plus loan, if they haven't completed a master promissory note, in those cases, we would email the parent directly because they are the borrower. And then we do send out just general communications about payment deadline reminders. We send reminders prior to pre-registration for the upcoming semester if there's any financial holds on the student account. And those communications go to both the student and the authorized users.
All right, thank you, Kirsten.
Sure.
The next question is about work study, and I'm gonna give that to Matt. That also came in through the chat as well. Can you talk about work study and how are students placed in jobs and what the timeline is involved for that?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mikhail. Yeah, so for work study, so just so everyone knows, a few years back, work study was housed in the Office of Financial Aid. It is no longer housed here anymore. It is not actually not work study, but campus employment is now housed in the Human Resources Office. So if you were to type in Brown campus employment, I'm sorry I didn't have the link, Mikhail. Sorry about that, but you would be able to find it through the Human Resources Office. So how does it work? So basically the bottom line is that with federal work study or campus employment, the bottom line is you don't get the award unless you work. So it doesn't go against the bill or anything like that up front. You have to work to get the money. It's the bottom line. So you become an employee like us. You get a biweekly paycheck, and then that paycheck goes directly to the student. So the student goes on to the Human Resources website that I think was just given to us. Thank you. And from there, they apply for jobs. So they are not placed automatically in the job. They actually apply for jobs. And then what happens is the student will then apply for jobs with a certain department, and then they will go through a process. There might be an interview process. There might not be. It depends on the department. And then that department hires you. You then become, again, an employee like us at Brown. You get a biweekly paycheck, and then that money goes directly to you. You do not have to, it does not go against your bill. And you can do whatever you want with that money. You worked for it, it's yours. So that's up to you. The timelines, basically what we always tell everyone is that usually departments start posting jobs, usually mid-August to like mid-September, when a lot of the jobs start getting posted. And if there's something you see on there that you might think that you're not qualified for, if you're interested in the job, apply for it. You never know. Also, we do also recommend for our students, especially our first-year students, that if you are that you do not work more than 8 to 10 hours per week. We definitely recommend that. What happens is, obviously, you have a lot going on when you get here. There might be certain clubs, there might be certain things going on you're interested in, and to work more than 8 to 12 hours a week really can cause problems for you.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Next question for you is, you went over the appeals process a little bit, but we had a few more questions come in about how to appeal financial aid decisions. Again, yeah, what's the timeline and best way to get in touch with your office?
So the best way to go, basically the best way to file an appeal is to go on our website. On our website, under the form section, we have our 2023-2024 student appeal form. That appeal form is 3 pages long. The first page explains the 4 circumstances that that you can appeal. The second page gives you a way to explain what's going on. And the third page basically is more of an income. So if you have a loss of income or something like that, or a lower income or something like that, or a loss of a job, that's where you would kind of put that information, estimated income. The form will tell you exactly what we need. So for each thing that you click off, or for each situation you have, it will tell you what our office wants. However, If you have questions about the process, or you have more questions, or maybe something doesn't make sense, or maybe you just feel that your particular issue does not apply to that first page, then you can again either email our office, contact, or call. But again, the best way would be for you to set up an appointment through our counselor calendar. But the bottom line, start the appeal process would be to go onto our website, review that appeal form, and then send that in to us with the information we need.
Great. And a combined question between you and Erica. There was a question about whether financial aid will cover health insurance. How does that work?
So I can answer that if you like me, Erica. So on our office here, the bottom line is that for students who are university scholarship eligible, and again, I emphasize university scholarship eligible, if you are if you are unable to waive the health insurance, if you are denied, then our office will cover that fee with a scholarship, with what we call health insurance scholarship. And again, I'm sorry to say it again, but this is for university scholarship eligible students only. Okay. However, some of you had mentioned volunteer asking that question to Erica about can you have the health insurance if you don't need it or not. If you were to waive health insurance and your health insurance was waived and you were approved and you voluntarily asked to keep around health insurance, we will not cover that cost. You must be denied, and you must have university scholarship, and then we will cover that cost for you if that happens. And yes, you will have to redo that every year. Every year you do have to go through the process of waiving the health insurance and being denied.
Okay, thank you. One of the questions that came through in the chat is, does Brown provide any sort of financial aid for people making above $125,000 a year?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't phrase that correctly. So again, that initiative that we have for the full tuition coverage is for families that make with incomes of less than 125K and typical assets. So yes, again, our office, when we look at financial aid, we look at income and we look at asset information. So yes, there are families that possibly at above that information that could receive financial aid. Yes. But again, that was more of an initiative that we have in place covering the full tuition costs. So yeah, so again, if you have questions about that, please contact our office and we'd be more than glad to talk to you about that.
Great, thank you. Let's see, a few more that came in. What is the deadline for students and parents to take a loan and notify Brown? And along with that, how do you notify your office? I don't know if it's you or Kirsten for this one, about a scholarship or something that you're expecting, so that you can get that credit.
Yeah, so Kirsten, I could take them for you. So as far as the loans go, as far as for federal student loans, you would contact our office. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you can either contact us through email or call us and ask us to offer you the loans. Also, or you can go onto your self-service portal and you can ask for the loans there. Basically the deadline is the academic year. So you could basically, until the end of the academic year, you could actually request those loans. So we have many students who might not take them in the first term and might contact us in the spring term and then take it then. So again, you pretty much have until the end of the academic year. Our loan office, Kirsten's office, they will notify us when the time comes you can no longer borrow loans, and then you would be notified by them when the deadline is up. But again, mostly it's for the end of the academic year you can borrow your federal student loans. The outside scholarships, if you would notify our office, you can, again, same situation, either email us, contact us, or set up an appointment with one of our counselors for the outside scholarships. And I would definitely recommend that you go into our website and you look at our outside scholarship policy, because outside scholarships can affect financial aid. So I would tell you right now that if you are receiving financial aid or need-based aid from Brown, then if you're please contact our office if you have questions about that, or go into our website and review how outside scholarships can affect financial aid.
Thank you. Matt, I think I'm going to give you a rest. I have another one for Kirsten, I believe, maybe about the installment plan. What is the deadline for signing up for installment payments?
Yep, so the deadline for the fall semester for the installment payment plan, the deadline to enroll is August 2nd.
All right, thank you. Erica, I might have the chance to give a few more insurance questions because we do have quite a few. I'm thinking that this additional mini session is going to really be great. Let's see. So can you just go over again, if a student has Brown health insurance plan and they are off campus, either somewhere else in the world or the United States, are they covered?
Yes, they are covered. So if they're in the United States, they would want to ideally find an in-network provider. When they're outside the United States, then every provider is out of network. So wherever they go, the same benefit will apply. They'll be subject to the $300 deductible, and then any medical expenses after the deductible is met, it would be reimbursed at 100% allowed amount. So you have to kind of think of it as out of the country, everybody's out of network. So you don't need to call anyone up and say, oh, is this hospital in network or is that doctor in network? You would just have to go, most likely with the expectation that you'd have to pay up front and know that you're going to be reimbursed later on. And if that does occur, you can always reach out to me and I can help you through submitting the claim to the insurance company. I can walk you through that process. It's not difficult at all, just about 10 minutes.
Great. And this is sort of every parent's concern is what happens when my student gets sick and say they have waived the insurance and they have the outside of Brown insurance. What's the process for them to get care?
Well, they would always want to reach out to the Health and Wellness Center, and we have the 24/7 nursing line, and we have emergency services there. So they would always want to reach out to the Health and Wellness Center first. And if they're too sick to come, then the nurses will send someone up to their dorm to help them. And if emergency services are required, they'll send the emergency services to them. But the Health and Wellness Center, those services are covered by your $545 fee per semester. Whether you have private insurance or the Brown insurance, it doesn't impact the services that you can receive at the Health and Wellness Center. And I sit amongst all of the nurses, and so I hear them speak to all the students, and they're all mothers, and they all care very, very much. And you wouldn't have to worry about your child if they come to the Health and Wellness Center, because they are very well taken care of, because I listen to the nurses on the phone all day long, and I hear the doctors and the rapport that they have with the students, and it's a very wonderful thing. They will receive tremendous care at the Health and Wellness Center, and I'm located there as well. So if they receive a medical bill that they don't know about, they can always reach out to me, and I can help them, walk them through it. Any type of service that they need. I'm also located in the Health and Wellness Center.
Thank you, Erica. And you're very lucky because it is a very beautiful building too. And great people work there for sure. Yeah. So that's a great note to end on. I'm going to wrap things up, and I want to thank Kirsten, Matt, and Erica for their time today and their excellent knowledge on these subjects that are so important for you as you are sending your children off to Brown.